Anxiety seems to be the new buzzword that everyone is talking about. Gen Z is making TikToks about it, millennials are making memes about it, baby boomers are rolling their eyes at it. But what is it really? Well, I can tell you about my experience. Anxiety affects different people differently. And there's this assumption or misconception that it's basically the same as nervousness or stress or worrying. But oh my god, it is not the same thing. Nervousness, stress, and worrying are normal human emotions and behaviors, which is not the same thing as having an anxiety disorder. So, what is anxiety? Let's see what Google has to say. Firstly, there are more than 10 million cases per year in India. It's defined as a mental health disorder characterized by feelings of worry, anxiety, or fear that are strong enough to interfere with one's daily activities. Examples of anxiety disorders include panic attacks, obsessive compulsive disorder, and post traumatic stress disorder. Symptoms include stress that's out of proportion to the impact of the event, inability to set aside worry, and restlessness. Treatment includes counseling or medication, including antidepressants. My big issue with anxiety and all the related issues like OCD, panic attacks, social anxiety is that it's very casually equated with normal behavior. If someone likes to keep things clean, it's called OCD. That is not OCD. OCD is a debilitating condition that gets in the way of everyday life, where people can't stop doing something until they've done it a certain number of times. Or they need to wash their hands so often that their skin starts to crack and bleed. That is not the same thing as keeping your room clean. Also, with panic attacks, I've experienced such debilitating panic attacks that I've needed to be taken to a doctor and given emergency medication. Some people end up in the hospital because they can't breathe. But people use the term panic attack for any little thing that catches them off guard. I'm sorry, but if you spill coffee on yourself and spend a few minutes trying to figure out how and when you'll be able to change your clothes, that is not a panic attack. That is a normal reaction to something unexpected. Social anxiety. I've skipped several major get togethers and life events because I was crying in my room. These were events that I knew about in advance. I was prepared for them for days or even weeks. But the night before the event, I would get caught up in this nightmare scenario where everyone is laughing at me or making fun of me or judging me. Even if that event was just having dinner with my cousins. Obviously, those people didn't think any of those things that were in my head, but I just couldn't face that crippling fear. Shyness and introversion are not the same thing. Shyness is a personality trait. Introversion indicates where and how people get their energy as opposed to extroversion. Now, preferring solitude or not being able to make the first introduction at a party are not the same thing as a debilitating condition in which you find yourself unable to move because you're crippled by fear. The real problem with anxiety is that people don't get it. Okay, they don't understand what the big deal is. It's not accurately portrayed in the mainstream media, and so it just gets discounted as an overreaction. I'm sharing my experiences with anxiety in the hope that it'll help clarify what it feels like. My first recollection of what I now know is an anxiety attack was when I was in the 11th standard, although it probably started before that. I had to give a speech at school after becoming house captain, and suddenly, just before it was my turn to speak, my nose started leaking. So I had to sniff through the entire speech. And the whole time I was mortified that people might see my snot literally drop down onto my face. The rest of the day was a waking nightmare. Teachers and friends kept asking me if I was trying to be funny, and I had to keep explaining that I wasn't. I got home that day and I cried for hours. Of course, it's normal to feel embarrassed or to be mortified by something like this, but it was not normal to cry about it non stop for hours and hours until I finally got so tired that I fell asleep. My parents tried everything from being kind about it to shouting at me for being dramatic, but no matter what they said, I couldn't stop crying. It felt like my whole life had fallen apart, like I could never go back to school or be seen in public again. Actually, looking back, any minor mistake I made would have had this kind of reaction. 12th standard chemistry. My God. Before every single test or exam, whether it was in school or even for tuition, I would cry for an entire day beforehand. On my board exam day, I had already cried for 3 full days before that, and I continued crying until I entered the exam hall. The principal of our school was worried that I would fail. I eventually passed with 66. 66, which is 31 marks more than the passing mark, okay? So obviously, I was not as bad as I thought I was, but anxiety made me feel like I was the world's biggest failure. This kind of overreaction continued throughout college. Actually, no, not overreaction. These kinds of anxiety attacks continued throughout college. Before every homework submission, every exam, they became such a regular event in my life that I had named them. I called them my spirals. I knew what would start it off. I knew how long it would take. I knew I couldn't do anything about it. I just had to wait for it to pass. Again, I'm not talking about like a 10 or 15-minute meltdown before an exam. Everyone goes through that. I'm talking about hours on end of crying so badly that I just couldn't do anything else. After college, my anxiety finally slowed down. It was like one bad day here and there. I had some social anxiety before certain events, but nothing more than that. By that point, actually, there was very little uncertainty in my life, which actually seemed to help. And I had had anxiety for so many years that I knew what would cause it. So I got very good at planning everything in detail way ahead of time. I just became a control freak because it helped my anxiety. I managed like that for a few years, but let me tell you that living like that is exhausting. It becomes impossible to have any kind of spontaneous fun. I hated surprises, even if they were good surprises. And that need to be in control can ruin relationships. But that is a whole other story. Then I moved back to India and I couldn't control anything. It took a whole year to get used to it because nothing worked on time. No one gave a shit about appointment timings and online bookings. It seemed like everyone just did whatever they wanted whenever they wanted to. All my advanced planning was totally useless. But I started doing the opposite kind of planning. I added 2 hours buffer time to everything. Meeting a friend at 6. Expect them to show up only at 6:45 or 7. Don't plan anything for the rest of the day. Assume one more hour to get home or to the next thing. Electrician coming at 10. Take the whole day off or work from home. He might come at 10 or at 2 or at 4. Either way, I have planned accordingly. This worked fine until I quit my job to become an actor. Now, suddenly, there was so much more uncertainty all the time. I didn't know when my next working day would be. I didn't know how to fill the time in between. I couldn't commit to any travel plans or anything in advance because I didn't know if I would have the money all the time. Basically, I was anxious 24/7. I started therapy and medication a few months after I became an actor, and anxiety was the first thing we tackled before moving on to my other disorders. So, for anxiety, I started meditating, journaling, tracking my triggers. I learned how to find patterns, how to characterize the thought process, and reframe the situation. For example, if I was feeling anxious that someone hadn't replied to my messages, I would have to write about the trigger, what was my main fear, what kind of thought pattern was I exhibiting, and then list all the other possibilities of why they hadn't replied. Also, I had to write down what would happen if they didn't reply, and so on. It was a lot of work. For the first month or so, I was writing maybe 15 or 20 anxious thoughts every day. Over time, I got it down to maybe one or two a day and then to like one or two a week. Now I can do all this in my head instead of on paper. Sometimes I need to write it down, but not always. And it happens maybe like once a month. I also still meditate every time I feel like my brain is buzzing too much. So things went well for about 2 years after I started therapy. I still remember my first anxiety free day. I just went through the day doing things like one after the other. I got like 6 or 8 things done. In the evening, when I sat down with chai, it hit me that I hadn't had any anxiety that day. I was like, wait, is this how other people live? Just doing things and being efficient? Because until that day, I could do maybe one or two things per day. because I had to deal with anxiety before, during, and after each thing that needed to get done. This brand new anxiety free mindset was life changing. Now, when I have bad anxiety days, I have to take the whole day off. I can't believe I used to just power through anxiety day after day for years on end only because I didn't know that things could be better. But unfortunately, it's not a happy ending. About a year ago, which was 2.5 years after I started therapy, I started experiencing panic attacks, which are the most extreme form of anxiety. The low grade anxiety had settled, my anxiety attacks had become very rare, but now I got hit by straight up panic. This was at the start of 2020, and I was dealing with way too much. I was in a new relationship, so a lot of uncertainty. It was a new year, and I felt like I hadn't achieved anything in 2019, so I was trying to figure out what I wanted from life. I was struggling to lose weight. I was recovering from shoulder surgery. I was in physiotherapy, and I had just started a diet and training program with a fitness coach. It was too much for me at the same time. I still remember my first panic attack. I had curled up on the floor next to my bed. I was almost under the bed and I was crying so loudly that I was almost screaming. I can't even remember exactly what started it. I couldn't breathe, like I couldn't take a normal deep breath. I was shaking. I couldn't get up, like I couldn't even stand or like uncurl from that curled up position. And I couldn't stop crying. My mom called my doctor and then she called a cab and she had to physically lift me up off the floor and somehow she got me into the cab. It took, I think, an hour to reach the doctor. I cried the entire way there. My mom had to apologize to the cab driver. It was that bad. Once I reached the doctor, he gave me two tablets and made me lie down. And after about half an hour, the tablets kicked in, and suddenly my whole body relaxed. It was a very weird sensation, but I'm used to it now. Then, over the course of 2020, things got better. I stopped the training program. I got done with physiotherapy. The relationship ended. And the world just stopped because of the pandemic. So, I personally didn't have to worry about my career goals anymore because we were all worrying about just staying alive. It felt like for the first time, the whole world was experiencing anxiety. The way that people with anxiety disorders experienced almost everything, almost all the time. I think people now have finally started to understand this feeling, this crippling fear of the unknown. For most people, it happened because of the pandemic. For someone with an anxiety disorder, it can happen because of spilled coffee or a typo in an email. But the fear that we feel is the same as what everyone is feeling right now. Imagine living like that all the time. Even when the world was normal, we were not normal. Maybe we're still not normal. We can't do what normal people do. There's a very complex system of triggers, emotions, and fears that make us act this way. Our brains are wired differently. We can learn to manage it, but it takes work and it takes effort that normal people have never had to put in. So, discounting everything we work so hard on by telling us our problems aren't real doesn't really help anything. No one in the history of mental illness has been cured by someone saying, bro, just calm down. Coming back, as of today in 2021, my anxiety is okay. It's been about 2 months since my last panic attack, and I still have a tendency to get fixated on imperfections or perceived imperfections. But I have a lot of tools and techniques and medication to manage it. I am taking a break from dating, so no uncertainty there. I found a sustainable way for me to eat well and exercise, and I'm seeing the results without stressing myself out. I have a daily routine and I limit myself to reading the news only once a day. I know I'm very privileged to be living like this at a time like this, but I've also worked really hard to manage the noise in my head, which other people are privileged to have never experienced. Look, if there's anything you take away from this episode, I hope it's this. Anxiety disorders are complicated, and those who suffer from them need your understanding and your patience, not your judgment and home remedies. If you know someone who overreacts to small things or has disproportionate reactions to events, they're probably not being dramatic. They probably have anxiety. Instead of yelling at them or telling them to stop being stupid or to calm down, maybe you could be patient. Remind them that it's not their fault, it doesn't have to be this way, that they can get help, they can get better. If someone you know and love is already in therapy, you can talk to their therapist and learn how to support them. If you're experiencing anxiety for the first time during the pandemic, your feelings and your fears are valid. You're not alone, and it's okay to ask for help. I know asking for help is not easy, and getting better isn't easy either. But once you do get better, your whole life gets easier. You'll find out how much you're truly capable of when anxiety is not taking up space in your life. You learn how to find or create stability for yourself during tough times, whether those tough times are in your head or out there in the world. Honestly, it feels like all those years of therapy have equipped me for this pandemic, while everyone else is experiencing this level of uncertainty for the first time. So, if you're in India and you need someone to talk to, you can find mental health professionals on liberate.com or practo.com. My doctor's name is Dr. Ravi Prakash, and I've put a link to his Liberate profile in this episode description. I hope you find the help that you need. I hope that you're okay asking for it. I hope this episode is something you can send to someone who doesn't understand what you're going through. I hope you have the first of many anxiety free days because they are truly something else. Stay well and stay safe, okay? The fight is worth it. Please DM me on Instagram at Take It Easy Policy if you have any questions or comments. I'm not a mental health professional, but I'm here to listen, and I can tell you more about my experience if you want to know about it. Thank you, as always, also to Semitonic Productions for music and mastering and for their patience with my anxieties. Actually, no, my nervousness. That was just nervousness about this podcast. Until next time, over and out.